The Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately, target the right buyers and close more deals, reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours.
When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello, and welcome to the Moving Iron Podcast. I've got Jon Womack here from Iron Solutions to talk about what's going on in the marketplace. Jon, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I can't complain any, man. It's been a good start to the new year, man.
Yeah.
24 is upon us here, and we're getting ready to head off into some great things, I guess, as you are. Let's run down real quick and take a look at what's happened with the marketplace real quick before we jump into today's topic. As you look at the marketplace right now, Jon, what do you see out there that's really jumping out at you and saying, hey, we got to have a few things to watch here?
Yeah, the first thing that's jumping out at me is large row crop tractors. It wasn't too long ago that the market, literally what was advertised out there, got cut in half.
Right.
And now it's rebounded so quickly. You see a lot more machines going, that are being listed out there. A lot more machines, late model, low hour machines that are going to the auction block, as well. And that's what really jumps out at me because, combines were the first problem.
Sure.
Of course, I think everybody could predict.
Always the first problem.
Yeah, I think everybody predicted that, but right when, combines started to fall off the ledge a little bit, there was a lot of talk about what's going to be the next thing.
Sure.
What's coming. And so we always continued to watch that, and 8Rs, Magnums, all of those. They were seeing historic highs. Of course, we had historic price increases.
Sure,
too.
absolutely.
But historic highs, and now we're getting very, very saturated with those.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that, but also too we're looking a little bit further. I always say we want to be proactive other than reactive.
Right.
So we're looking further to see, okay, so after large row crops, what's going to be the next thing? So
Yep.
we're really paying attention right now to sprayers and all of your 9Rs, your Steigers,
Right.
stuff like that, just to see exactly what happens there. I know that we're still a little light on the 4-wheel drive market, lighter on the track side than we are the wheel side. So we're looking at that. But I do know there's a lot of sprayer ordering that went on, this past year. So that's an indication, just like when there was a lot of ordering that went on the combine side, that was an indication of what was to come, just like on the sprayer side. So we'll see how all that shakes out and, what our data tells us.
Yep. So speaking of data, that's today's topic that we're going to hit on just a little bit here is as we're going through the year and you're going through this, you get sold reports. And the amount of sold reports you get is, give me a rough idea. How many of the dealers that are out there, how many sold reports you think you're getting?
In a year, of course, that fluctuates a little bit. But in a year's time, we'll see anywhere between 175,000 to close to that 200,000 mark.
Right.
As far as sold data is concerned. Which, if you take into account the advertised listings, auction, and retail. I'm sorry, and dealer sold resale cash reports. We're looking at that realm of like $21 billion, somewhere around in there.
21 billion?
21 billion.
Okay.
Billion with a B.
With a B. Okay.
On the actual just sold report side, we're looking in the realm of that, that 14 to 15 billion with a B, dollars. So, quite a bit of data that we're looking at there, that we're sifting through on a daily basis, and it comes in real time.
Right.
So I might look at one of the regions here or there, and it's got this amount of sold data in it. Then I might go back an hour later, and that sold data is double or triple. Right. It happens every day.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So when you're looking at the data that comes through, walk me through what data you're looking at. Well, first off, walk me through what data comes through to you.
So, like the very beginning, I guess you could say.
Yep.
So, in the very beginning, every single model starts with the pricing information that we get from the OEMs.
Okay.
So we're working with all those OEMs on all that pricing information. So we like to see
Deere, New Holland,
Case, Deere, New Holland, Case, Kubota, Mahindra,
okay,
all those folks, Coyote, all those folks. And so what we'd like to see is we want to know the standard specs. So we want to know, how is that machine outfitted directly from manufacturer? That's number one. Number two, we want to understand the base MSRP of that machine. And number three is we want to understand the options for that machine. And number four, we want to understand the option pricing for that machine. And also inside of these, this pricing information, that we get as well, it tells us like, hey, you can't have this option without this option.
Right.
So then we start to figure out, okay, so do we need to add these two together to make it a little bit more simple? And of course, if we do that, we do document that in our guide. We have inside of the guide, there's a description box next to the option.
Right.
So there's a little click down button. If you click that button, it'll tell you exactly what's inside of that option. So
right.
Since a lot of these manufacturers have went to like cab packages and stuff,
sure.
So like say if you're a John Deere guy looking at a case piece or vice versa, you're not 100% sure what's inside that premium cab option or that deluxe cab option. You can click that little click down button and it'll tell you what's in there. That's a little new. We've been working hard on getting all that updated.
Sure.
So if there is a model that you run into and it's not 100% updated, give us a little bit of time, and we'll get all that updated. But at least for the past 3 years, you should probably be seeing it. We do that on technology packages as well.
So if you haven't picked up on this, Judge John's talking about, you guys have the actual price books from the manufacturers.
Correct.
So all the information that you're putting into the guidebook and all the information coming from the guidebook is coming actually from the physical manufacturer that made it, and the build codes, the code numbers, as well as the description of what each one of those codes.
Yeah, as well as the description, the standard specs. If you look under specs inside of the guide, it'll give you, your tire sizes. It'll give you even down to engine horsepower. It'll give you the base MSRP of that machine. All of that comes from the manufacturer. We're not trying to take a bunch of sold data in and then try to formulate, what our spin is on it. There, in order to do that, there would, I don't necessarily know if you could do it, but I mean, in order to even think about doing that, there had to be a lot of assumptions. And if I am 99.9% sure that something's correct, it won't go in the guide until I have proof, written proof from somewhere, mostly from the manufacturer, that it's correct, and that's down to serial numbers as well. All of our serial number breaks that are in our guide, those come directly from the manufacturer with a manufacturer letterhead. And the main thing is that there's a lot of things that are going on inside of that guide. There's a lot of different models. There's a lot of different years that are attached to those models, and so on and so forth. And we get a lot of questions about this, that, and the other. That's inside of that guide, and we have to have something to go back to,
right?
And we have to have something that is concrete to be able to stand on, because there's a lot of people, a lot of our customers are making very important decisions based on our guide numbers, got information that is inside the guide, and we definitely understand that, and we want to give them the best data that we can possibly muster.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's really important to point out is, not only you'd work with the dealerships, right? Obviously, that's a big customer, but the other big customer you have are lending institutions,
yep.
Not just your local bank, but the JDS and the CNH Capital and those kind of folks like
Farm
that.
Credit, yep.
Farm Credit, those kind of folks that are actually doing a lot of that lending too, and they're using your books to do that.
That's exactly right. I mean, they're just interested. They're just as interested in those specs and the hour conversions, usage adjustments, and everything else, just like the dealer would, because the dealer doesn't want to end up over leveraged with too much used equipment, right? Just like the lender doesn't want to end up with too much money on their books.
Right.
So it's when we talk about inventory stacking up, we talk about this, we talk about commodities and how that's affecting. Lenders are very interested in that as well.
Right.
Because they need to be able to make the right decisions, for themselves, so they don't become over leveraged.
Sure.
So they're definitely paying attention to this. I do get, quite a few phone calls, a lot of questions about, hey, where do you see this going? Where do you see that going? What's your data telling you?
Right.
And kind of like me and you have talked about, like, the data tells you one thing, then you kind of have to get like your own thoughts out of it, of like what you think's going to happen, because there's you want to be able to be concrete, or something like that.
You can make your assumptions, but your assumptions can't lead you down the path.
That's exactly right. You kind of have to leave your assumptions at the door.
Right. Exactly. All right. So now you've got that information, you get the pricing information. So I'm a dealership. I sold mine or tractor or whatever. I hit sold. I hit that button and it goes to you. What information are you getting?
So when we open up that sold report, we're checking it for a few things. We're checking it for the correct type, make, model, year. So the way that we're checking that year is obviously with the serial number break.
Sure.
So making sure that happens. We're also checking it for usage, and we're checking it for the options. Now, if we do not have that criteria that I just explained, then that report is deleted. Now, say we have a dealership that just sent us 500 reports or something like that, and almost every single one of them has an issue. So, there's a gentleman on my team. He will reach out to them, and he'll say, "Hey, I just want to let you know, this information is missing, or something like that." And I would say 9.5 times out of 10, the dealer says, "Oh, very sorry, we'll resend those." So they'll pull something out of their business system, or something like that has that information. They'll send them to us. It gets input to our system, and then we go that way with it. So after we checked it for that criteria, we'll go in, for instance, like on a combine, we'll go in and we'll start checking it for those options.
Right.
And so let's just say, it's a John Deere combine and it's got, five 520 rubber up front, 750 rubber out back, 26-foot unloading auger, power folding grain tank, a power cast tailboard. Let's just say, we'll just leave it there. We'll just say that. Well, all those options cost money. Okay. And actually a combine that's like that is probably going to have 4-wheel drive as well. So all those options cost money. And if you're not taking those options into account, you're missing a humongous part of the picture.
Right. Okay.
You set two combines side by side. They can be the same year model, same make, same everything, same hours even. There can be $100,000 difference in between the two,
Right.
just because of those options. And we understand that. And since we have the options, we have the option pricing and everything else from the OEM, that's what allows us to go in there and start pricing those options. So, and that's another way that's how we look at our overall data. So we'll go in there, we'll normalize what we call normalize the report, which means we take everything out of it, as far as options and hours and stuff like that are concerned. And we take those out of the cash value of the machine to bring it down to its base model. So now it becomes, say we're talking about
Hold on, explain that part of the list a little bit better, a little bit more there. So you're normalizing it, and what are you taking out?
We're taking the pricing of the options out of the cash value.
Okay. So you're just trying to figure out what the average price of
what the average base price of the machine is.
Okay.
So and the reason why we do that is because that same situation again, you've got an S780 combine here, an S780 combine here, and there's $100,000 worth of options in between the two. How can we figure out the trajectory of that overall S780 2023 market if there's that big of a price difference in between the two that's based on options? Well, in order to figure that out on a holistic level, you have to take the options out of the picture. So when we take the options out of the picture, and it's an apples to apples comparison now, not necessarily an apples to oranges comparison, then that's what tells us the overall trajectory of the actual market itself.
So when you say you're taking the options out, are you taking like the options that don't match each other out, or you're just stripping it back down to the base of it?
Just stripping it back down to the base. So that's the reason why I have a team of 6 people that's looking at this sold data.
Okay.
We're just, if it's got power cast tailboard, whatever option value is for power cast tailboard, we're taking that out of that particular sold report.
Okay.
Same thing with the 26-foot unloading auger. Same thing with the tires. Yada 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 yada.
So you're stripping it back down just to a base machine.
Base machine.
Base
spec,
code machine.
Base code, base spec machine.
Okay. All right.
And like I said, we do that with every single piece of equipment that we get. If we have the options and the specs on it, that's exactly what we do with every single one of them. So we can look at the overall trajectory of the market, where it's going, and there's no other influencers out there that is influencing what's going on.
Right. All right. So when you're looking at the approach that you're going to sit back and take a look at the hour usage, right, and what that looks like. People love to talk about this, right?
Yeah.
And there's a misunderstanding as to what that actually is, right? So as an old used equipment guy, my hour usage was based around several things, recon being included in that, right? Explain how you come with your hour usage, and how are you how you formulating that scenario? So
I'll start with, the feedback that I've gotten from dealers of what their hours is, like what you were talking about.
Right.
You've got normal depreciation in there.
Sure.
You've got recon in there.
Sure.
And you've got probably some more stuff in there that wrapped up for your dealership.
Right.
And every dealer's different,
Yep.
but they've got all about 3 pillars of what they start with, and then they go from there. So for us, we take what I call a 3-step approach. So that base, that resale cash or TVP, whatever number you're looking at, has already been adjusted for the depreciation in the overall market. Okay. So we've depreciated that number. And then then we have a recon number as well that is figured into our trade numbers. And the way it looks like in Iron Guides is that it'll tell you what your average recon is. So let's just say that I tell you that your average recon is $2,500.
Where are you getting that from?
So average recon is coming from Soul Data.
Okay.
So I'll tell you your average recon is $2,500, $3,000, whatever. And then you say, actually, my recon is $10,000. So you will put in that $10,000, and then it will take that additional $7,000. Difference between 10 and 3 is 7. It'll take that additional $7,000 out of your trade values because you're taking that into account as you're trading the piece of machinery. And then you will do your usage adjustment. So what that usage adjustment is there for, it is to give a premium to the lower hour machines, of course, and give a deduct to the higher hour machines. And that usage adjustment that's what it's for. It's just usage. It's not for recon. It's not for depreciation. It's not for any of that. It is just it's an additional adjustment that you can put on that combine or that tractor or that sprayer.
Okay.
Now that usage adjustment is not on the same dollar amount all the way out. So let's just say you're taking a sprayer in on trade and the average hours is 1,000 hours that's inside of the guide. And say that sprayer's actually got 2,000 hours on it. So you'll put in 2,000 hours and then we will give you your deduction and it will automatically calculate everything for you inside of the guide. Well, there's not a actual dollar amount per hour that is with every single hour that's past that 1,000. It's on a sliding scale. So, because every hour, I think you'd agree with this, every hour doesn't mean exactly the same thing. As you get further away, that starts to decrease in the value of the machine. And that's exactly the way that we do it. We slide it.
Appreciation curve flattens out.
Right.
All right. So I want to make sure I understand this. So
Yep.
What you're saying is, so when I'm looking at the guidebook, in the grid there, and I'm looking at wholesale and all the different numbers that are there, resale cash and all those different things, as I'm looking at those numbers have any and all recon that you have reported to and any and all recon that I've added or taken away from that on there. Those have all been taken out of those numbers and folded in, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's just there's nothing there.
There is. So the only thing that's in our trade numbers is the average recon that we've already put in on that we already tell you about inside of that recon.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay. So when you get to the usage number and you're just looking at it from this is what it costs to, and depreciation has been taken out of that.
Depreciation's already been taken out of it as well, yes.
All right. So how are you coming up with the number for the usage? Like, what is that made up of?
It's from Sold Data as well.
So you're looking at like the highest priced one with the lowest hours sold for this much, the lowest priced one that had the most hours on it sold for this much.
Correct.
And you're kind of normalizing those.
You're normal. So we're normalizing them out, and then so we'll do that, and then we will start to look at. So we got to look at that depreciation scale as well.
Right.
So and then as things happen, we'll tweak that a little bit as things happen. So for instance, here's a good example. As more machines get on the market, what happens? You have more to choose from, right?
Yeah.
So that means that the higher hour machines are probably going to take a bigger deduction.
Sure.
So that means that sliding scale might need to be a little bit more aggressive,
right,
and take more money out of those trades, which is exactly what we did in our winter guide.
Right.
So we held on to that dollar amount, that starting dollar amount a little bit more, which takes more money out of the overall machine because like I said, we firmly believe that if you have more to choose from, there, when things weren't as good, when we didn't have a whole lot of inventory, guys, they were worried about hours, but it was like, hey, this is all I can afford. I have to do this, and there's nothing else out there.
Right.
So now that there's more things out there, that higher hour stuff is not going to bring as much of a premium.
Yeah. So you take like just an example is say you take whatever 8R370, whatever, right? Take one of those and you put it out there. What you're looking at is the lowest hour sold report that you have, and the hours associated with that, and the highest or the lowest price, highest houred machine out there. And if you have 10,000 reports or whatever that comes through for that model year machine, what you're doing then is you're taking and looking at how fast is the depreciation between each hour increment that you're seeing in when it comes to dollar value.
Right.
So you're using the sold data again.
The sold data, yeah. I mean, everything that we do in our guide, I'm going to say, I mean, very close to the most part. I mean, there's a few things here and there, but it's built off of that sold data. So that's the reason why dealers reporting to us and reporting accurately is very, very, very important. The last thing that I will do once we do that, once we formulate that, formulate those hours is, of course, okay, so all of this sold data says this. All right. Does this make sense? So then we go back, we go back out in the market. We start to see, okay, so does the difference between here and here, this is what this is going to come out to be if we actually do this. So does this make sense?
Right.
Does this make sense?
Right.
So, there has to be the common sense measure there,
Sure.
a little bit. So we'll do that. And then, because there's me and two other gentlemen that, that do all of this. So, I mean, we have other team members, but it's those two that are the biggest part of it. And if we have any questions about it, I'll just pick up the phone and start calling dealers.
Yep.
Dealers that I have formulated relationships with in the past 7 years that I have been here, and they know exactly what we're trying to do. They know exactly what we're after. So we'll start to talk about, hey, does this you have this machine that has this amount of hours on it, this machine that has this amount of hours on it, same everything.
Right.
Everything. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? And, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And we just kind of have to tweak, from there.
Yep. I think that kind of comes back again to the human element.
That's exactly right.
There's art and sscience that kind of go into this.
Yep. There's some I mean, there's plenty of logic involved. I mean, you have to understand what you're looking at.
Sure.
You have to understand that, inventory is doing this. What's that mean? You have to understand that interest rates are here. What does that mean? You have to understand commodities are here. What does that mean? Holding costs is here. What does that mean? Yep. You have to, sold report data is our biggest data point, of course. And the way that, and the links that we go to make sure that data is the best data humanly possible. Of course, it is our number one data point. But after that, there are other things. There are other, pieces of logic that come into play. That is the reason why, me and the two other gentlemen that actually work on the guide, we have an extensive knowledge of the agricultural industry. Gary, he's been with the company for almost 20 years. He actually used to own his own dealership. And then, Mr. Ron, he's been with us for about a year and a half. He's got 20 plus years worth of equipment experience. He's been a location manager. He's been a used equipment manager himself. So a lot of knowledge there to where we can get together. We can, try to figure out exactly what's going on here. Right. And then, like I said, at the end of the day, we'll pick up the phone and start calling dealers. Yep. Hey, what do y'all think about this? What do y'all think about that? And now I'm not going to say I'm going to turn a guide number just because one dealer tells me to.
Sure.
That's not the way this works.
It's a data point.
That's exactly right. But if you talk to 15 or 20 dealers that's all across the United States and Canada, and they're all saying the same thing, it's pretty obvious what's going on.
Yep. Yeah, you gotta take those data points with a grain of salt.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
You gotta measure each one of them as they come through.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. As you're looking, one more thing on the data piece. So I'm looking at this data piece, and I've got all these sold reports, right? So you put the guidebook out quarterly, right? It comes out every quarter with the updated stuff. Let's say that I want to go in and see the sold reports every day. Is there a way I can do that?
You can. So we have a comp tool inside of Iron Guides. So you'll go in and you'll do your evaluation. And so as you're doing your evaluation, of course, you're doing that hour adjustment, that usage adjustment. You're clicking your options. You're doing all of that to make sure that you get the most accurate information into that assessment. And then from there, there's a button that says check comparables. So you'll click check comparables. Inside of there, you will have your dealer sold data. So on that dealer sold data, the reason why I was talking about, clicking those options, other than them being very important to the machine, right, is that as you are clicking those options, we were pulling the dealer sold data that is most the machine that you're evaluating in the background for you.
Right.
So when you go over to comps and you look in your dealer solds, there's going to be a little bar there that says 75%, 85%, 95%. So that little percentage right there is telling you that based on the options that you selected, the dollar amount of those options that you selected, not just the number, because different dollar amounts for different options matter differently. Based on the dollar amount of those selections, this machine is 75% like the options that you selected,
Right.
85%, and so on and so forth. So what are we getting at here? We're getting at a option for option selection because if you have a combine that has tracks on it, then you probably don't want to be looking at wheeled combines.
Be about 100,000 short.
Be about 100,000 short, roughly. Yeah. If you have a four-wheel drive combine, you don't want to be looking at two-wheel drive combines. Right. So that's the other part of the sold data that I forgot to mention. So when they're going in there looking at this sold data, where I talk about the options, okay. So when they're clicking off those options, let's just say that you'll have a dealer that'll say this is a four-wheel drive combine. Another dealer will say it's a power rear assist. The other dealer will say it's power rear axle. Well, it's the same option. There's three different variations of that option, right? So what the folks that look after that data, what they will do is that they will say, actually, four-wheel drive is actually power rear axle, this is the iron guide option. So Right. They will take that four-wheel drive out and they will click power rear axle, and it all builds that description for that sold report inside of our comps tool. So as you're clicking that option inside of your assessment, it is going to be a apples to apples, one to one comparison all the way across.
Right.
Because that's the issue that you have is, if you go in to start looking at something, if you're looking at listings, you're looking at that, it's like, I want all four-wheel drive combines. Well, if you click four-wheel drive combines, then you might, and you have 500. If there's descriptions on there that say power rear axle, well, you might be missing half the pot. You
Right.
might be missing a quarter of it. It doesn't, if you want to see the whole picture, you don't really want to be missing one, much less half. So we go to that length to make sure that you're seeing everything, and you are getting a one-to-one, apples-to-apples comparison every single time on every single option. That way you can make the best decision possible.
Right on. Okay. All right, John. I think it's a good place to stop. If folks want to reach out to you and get more information about what you're doing here at Iron Solutions, what's the best way to do that?
Start with an email. So you can email me, Jon, Jon, Womack, Wommack, at randallriley.com. Shoot me an email, and it will probably end up in a phone call. I like to call people and talk to them. So we can start there, and email me. I love hearing feedback from customers. Feedback from customers is how we learn. And I've had conversations with clients where they say, hey, I lost faith in your guide. Or I have, had other conversations to where they said, hey, I love your guide. That's great. But also too, I'm very interested in, hey, why do you love my guide? But also too, hey, why don't you lose faith in my guide as well? And let's talk about that. So, definitely want to talk about it all. I'm definitely not going to take it like you're calling my baby ugly or anything like that. I'm not going to be defensive with you or anything like that. I'm very interested to see how our clients, how our customers view us, and how we can educate each other.
Right on. Okay, awesome. Well, John, I appreciate you being on the podcast, man.
Yes,
we'll look forward to doing this again throughout the year.
Thank you. My pleasure.
I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Moving Iron LLC. Go to LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast. Check out TikTok and Snapchat at Moving Iron LLC. And check out the video version over here at the YouTube channel, which is the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. Go to Moving Iron LLC for everything Moving Iron related. And with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Jon Womack. Let's move some iron, folks. Out. The Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Are you looking to value your equipment more accurately? Target the right buyers and close more deals? Reach your ideal customer? Then look no further. Fusable isn't just about ag data, it's about action. Our best-in-class solution empowers you to value your equipment accurately, make informed decisions, and find the perfect prospects. Ignite your dealership's growth at fusable.com/movingiron-podcast. Out in the field, every decision counts. You wouldn't plant without testing your soil, so why would you prospect blind? Introducing EDA, your one-stop shop for ag equipment intel. EDA goes beyond specs and prices. You get deep dive data on every piece of equipment like UCC filings that help track ownership changes and uncover potential sales leads. D&B firmographics, which help you understand the financial health and buying power of potential customers. Market trends that help you stay ahead of the curve, and insights on equipment demands and pricings. With EDA, you're not just looking at data, you're seeing opportunity. Find the right buyer, sell smarter, and build lasting relationships. Visit edadata.com for your free demo and unlock the power of knowledge. For over 80 years, Iron Solutions has been your go-to data source for ag dealers, lenders, and manufacturers. Get powerful appraisal and value forecasting tools that fuel profitable decisions anytime, anywhere. Get your free demo at ironsolutions.com. Iron Solutions, confidence in every click. Today, there are many ways to finance ag equipment, but nobody delivers simple, fast, or flexible financing like AgDirect. Learn more about your options to buy, lease, and refinance equipment at agdirect.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. Find out more at axontire.com. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron in the 21st century.